The offseason has gone on and the Nationals haven't really made any splash moves per se, but have the Nationals kind of made the transition from a big market into a small market? Certainly seems that way.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as the show page at LO_Nationals. For all your latest Nationals news and notes, check us out over on Twitter. And while you're at it, search up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, and of course, for the video version of this podcast, you can catch that over on YouTube and hit that subscriber button. Later on in the program today, I talked about some Nats Park potential renovations, and no one's really talking about this too much, but I feel like Nats Park needs a little bit of a facelift. So I told you what I would do with the Red Porch out there, what was formerly known as the Red Porch. I believe it's the Bud Light Loft now, and I put the Capitol Dome on top of that. I've got some more ideas outside of that, and maybe you'll like it. And if you attend Nats games, you're going to want to know about this. So I'll discuss that later on in the program today. In the second segment, the Nationals, right after I recorded yesterday, they signed Amed Rosario to a 1-year, $2 million deal, and there was a corresponding move as well. We'll tackle both those things in the second segment of the program today. But as we said in the intro, have the Nationals made the shift from a big market into a small market? I think the proof is in the pudding, and it shouldn't be, but it is. We'll have that discussion for you. But today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So the reason why that I think the Nationals right now are kind of making this transition from a big market team into a small market team is not because of just the payroll. If you look around these signings that the Nationals have made, number one, maybe they just don't think they're ready. Maybe they just don't believe that this team is ready to hit the ground running. And by the way, these moves may indicate just that. But also, you know baseball. I know baseball. We've watched this team for years and years and years. If I'm talking about the Nationals, and if I'm talking about them every single day, watching 162 games every single year, you get a sense of when a team is close. This Nationals team is very close. And if you look around Major League Baseball, teams that have taken steps up and have really spent a lot of money and to try to make themselves a better overall team. A team like the Rangers a few years ago, they went all in. They signed Marcus Semien. They signed Corey Seager. And all of a sudden, they're World Series champions. They've also had a lot of good prospects come through their system, and they've developed and made really savvy moves overall. You look at teams like the Atlanta Braves. Back in 2021, when they won the World Series, they had all those prospects come through. They spent wisely, and of course, they continue to spend wisely and continue to be one of the better organizations in all of baseball, in my opinion. The Nationals' time was this offseason for them to really go all in, for them to really say, you know what, we are ready to win now. You have Dylan Cruz in the majors. You've got James Wood in the majors, C.J. Abrams, Mackenzie Gore. It felt as if this was the offseason for them to really kind of grab hold of this thing and say, we are ready to contend. And I don't think the Nationals got that memo. In fact, the reason why I say that I think the Nationals have made this shift from being a big market into a small market is exactly why you think. What if I told you today that the Tampa Bay Rays right now on January 9th, according to Spot Track, has a higher overall payroll than the Washington Nationals? What if I told you one of the worst teams in all of baseball that we have ever seen, in fact, the Chicago White Sox, have a higher payroll than the Washington Nationals. What if I told you the Cincinnati Reds, the Milwaukee Brewers, the Baltimore Orioles, the Kansas City Royals, all those teams have higher payrolls than the Nationals? Think about that for a second. If this team is not ready to contend, then okay. I understand this. You're cutting back on payroll. Patrick Corbin is cleared from the books. You still have some deferred money in there with Max Scherzer and Steven Strasburg, but still, the Nationals should be spending. You should be going all in. The time is now. And unfortunately, I think the time to go all in for this offseason has likely passed. We talked about this yesterday. They're not in on Alex Bregman, even though there were some reports earlier on this offseason that they may have checked in on him. But even then, I'm not really sure that they showed much interest in him. Pete Alonso, that's out the window. You've got Nathaniel Lowe, and you've also got Josh Bell. That's not going to happen. Juan Soto was never going to happen. It was fun to talk about, but still, we all knew what the case was going to be there. He was going to go to either the New York teams and maybe the Dodgers, and that was going to be that. But I think this is kind of like a sad reality when talking about the Nats now. We have become a small market team. And you might be wondering, well, is it because Washington grew into a small market team, meaning that they shrunk? No. Now, you can point to different things here and say, well, Masson and the TV deal there, it's a debacle. And yes, it is an absolute debacle. And if the Masson issue gets resolved, I do expect them to spend a little bit more money. But that's not really an excuse anymore. It's just not. When you look at the top guys who's making the most money this year, Nathaniel Lowe, that you just traded for, is going to make $10.7 million. After that, it's Michael Soroka, who's going to make $9 million. And then it's Josh Bell, who makes $6 million. Those aren't splashy moves. They're good. I like the Nathaniel Lowe trade. I like the Soroka deal. I like Josh Bell. But I don't think those get you over the hump. They make you better. I think the Nationals will probably win 75 to 80 games, depending on how things look in spring training. But we'll get to that prediction in a few months from now. It's January 9th. The time to sign players is now. And unfortunately, I think the time to make splashy moves has passed this team. When you look at the top payrolls on this team, it's not good. I think it kind of goes to show you the sign of the times now. This is now a small market operation. It's a tough pill to swallow. It may not be something that you're willing to accept, but that's the reality of it right now. This is a small market team living in a big market. And that's not fair because we have seen this team even when they had a bad Masson deal back in the 2010s. You've seen this team be better. You've seen this team have a top 10 payroll. Masson is an issue. I've said it a million times. It is an absolute issue. But that is not an excuse for the way that the Nationals have constructed free agency so far. And if you really look into it, they are missing millions and millions of dollars from Masson of what they should be getting. But that was also the case through the 2010s. They found ways. They constructed a good farm system. They spent in free agency and spent wisely. They put out winning teams. And now it is a little bit different as Mark Lerner is the principal owner compared to the late Ted Lerner. But the time is not tomorrow. It is now. The Nationals, if you look around here, we are a small market team at this point. At least that's the way that we are operating. Is that the way that it's supposed to be? In my opinion, absolutely not. But what gives you faith in them becoming a big market team yet again, or at least operating as if they are? Because I can tell you this, it's just simply not a big market team. you are a small market operation in a big market. Because let's not get this twisted. DC is the 7th biggest market in baseball today. There's not many more big markets. And I'm not saying you should have a top 7 payroll, but you should also not have the 27th highest payroll, just ahead of Pittsburgh, just ahead of the A's, and just ahead of Miami. You should not be in that bargain. You should not be behind the Tampa Bay Rays. You should not be behind the Chicago White Sox. And you should not be behind all of these smaller market teams. Even then, the Padres, San Diego, a smaller market, top 10 payroll. They find ways. They don't even have a TV provider anymore. We don't even know where their games are going to be played with Bally Sports kind of going under there. They get the job done. As much as we all want to just say, well, the Masson deal, it's holding us back. It is, but to what extent? There are teams out there who may have better deals overall and may be generating more money off their TV deals without having Bally Sports. But if you have cable, you can't even watch their team's games. It's hard to imagine that some of these teams are making more money off their TV deals when they don't even have cable providers to do so. It's a sign of the times, man. This is a small market operation in a big market. And I think that's just a reality that we might have to accept right now. And it's a bad one. But if you think different, let me know. Comment over on YouTube. Tweet at me at RyanClary11. But I think that's the reality of it. And it's an unfortunate one, to say the least. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Now, let me get into the Amed Rosario signing. It was a 1-year, $2 million deal, and it seems as if he's probably going to be playing a little bit more. I saw someone throw this out there saying that he was going to be the new Ildemaro Vargas, which is true. He could probably be that. He's a very good defender. But I think he's going to play a little bit more than what you think. We'll discuss that after we tell you about our friends over at Rocket Money. And did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions that you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That definitely happened to me, and I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. For me, it's one of the best features, the subscription tracker. I've used it to cancel services I wasn't even using anymore, and I've already saved a ton. Literally just yesterday, I found out that I was subscribed to Netflix. I had multiple Netflix accounts, and I had no idea until Rocket Money got me straight. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon, rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Now we get into it with the Nationals signing Amed Rosario to a 1-year, $2 million contract. And as we were saying, kind of why I got into that spiel of being a small market team, I think it's because, well, there's a lot of different reasons, but it kind of made me think of it once the Nationals signed Amed Rosario. And credit to Talk Nats, I saw him tweet this out yesterday, but he was talking about how one of his sources have pointed out that he is going to be a good platoon, probably over at second base and shortstop and really third base, because this guy is a very good defender. And at times in his career has been quite an elite defender, in fact. I will even say he is an elite defender right now today. And Amed Rosario, and Talk Nats pointed this out, he has a slash against left-handed pitching, batting .294, a .325 OPS, a .412 slug with a .737 OPS. That is a pretty well above average OPS plus, if you can count that in there as well. Amed Rosario, in my opinion, will be a platoon guy. And I think it was a great point by Talknats over on Twitter. And I think that this is probably where the Nationals stand today. And this is not a bad move, by the way. This is a relatively solid move that, like, listen, would I rather have Gleyber Torres? Absolutely. Would I rather have some bigger time guys? Yes, 100%. But from the bucket that we are shopping in, I think Amed Rosario in the signing is not all that bad. Now, he did play for 3 different teams this past year, the Tampa Bay Rays, the LA Dodgers, and also the Cincinnati Reds. He finished the year batting .280 with a .686 OPS, aka this guy is not going to hit for power. He's not going to. It's not what he is, so he doesn't help us in that department. But again, where he will help you is against left-handed pitching, as he has proven over his career that he can hit left-handed pitching. And if you look back earlier on in his career, he stole 24 bases in his first full season with the New York Mets back in 2018. And this guy was a top 10 prospect in all of baseball. His numbers offensively down in the minors weren't too crazy, but they also weren't too bad. Now, he is way removed from that. This was back in like 2016 and 2015 when he was really popping off, and when he had that Gold Glove caliber defense down in the minors that transferred over to the majors. The offense just simply did not. And he is going to hit for average. He has always hit for average. He's a career .270 hitter and career .706 OPS. But over the last few years, it really hasn't been all too pretty, as he has a .683 OPS and a .686 OPS each of the last 2 years. But this signing overall, I think, will actually generate some positive for this Nationals team. And it's going to help you having that tandem of Luis Garcia, CJ Abrams, and right now, Jose Tena and whoever else will play third base this year, whether it's Brady House or whoever. You also have Nathaniel Lowe. You've got Josh Bell. But you also now have a right-handed bat who is good defensively and can hit left-handed pitching. So I see Amed Rosario, while some people are saying, well, he's the new Ildemaro Vargas. Yes, I do think that. But I also think he's going to play a lot more than that. He'll be someone who pinch hits, or, yeah, he could pinch hit against left-handed pitching. He's also going to steal some bases. I think this is an overall good move for this Nationals team. This does make you a little bit better if you utilize him correctly. But if you are going to ask him to play every single day, then that's when I think we have issues, because I don't think this guy is going to be an everyday player. Because you could really just put him around all over the infield, put him at shortstop, second base, and you also put him in the outfield. A 6'2", 190-pound frame. This is going to be someone who I think will help this team win overall, but it's not a sexy move. It's not something that's really going to get you going overall, but I do think this move overall helps the Nationals in a positive way. And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. While you're at it, search up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcast, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, and of course, over on YouTube. And drop a comment, drop a thumbs up, leave me a message, whatever it is, we will find you and we will try to respond. But let's talk about this. This has kind of been something, this is like my passion project a little bit. Talking about the Nationals and Nationals Park. I want to see some renovations. I told you about what I would do with the Bud Light loft out in left center field. Now let's get into some other things. And this might be a little picky, if you could say, but we'll discuss that after we tell you about our friends over at Gametime. And I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. One of my favorite memories was attending a Caps game last year. The energy and excitement was just unimaginable. And now Gametime has made it even easier to get tickets for your favorite events with their new feature, Gametime Picks. This feature filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And recently, I just, again, wanted to go to a Caps game here, and I had 2 tickets to get. I was on the Metro there. It was 6:30 for a 7 p.m. puck drop. I did not have tickets. I opened up Game Time 2 clicks away while I was in the Metro. I had my tickets. I had the exact seats, and of course, I had the view from my seat from my phone, see if there's any obstruction. And of course, just to be able to get in a feel for that game right before you get there, there is no better feeling. And you can only get that with our friends at FanDuel. So when you use FanDuel, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's game time. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Now, get into it with some Nationals Park renovation ideas. So I told you about the Capitol Dome. I think that'd be really cool. But also, why don't we talk about this? The parking garages. Why are they out in the outfield? If you look at like the Atlanta Braves and what they have, like the battery there, it's a really cool thing regardless. The St. Louis Cardinals have this now. You have like these views. And again, if you take down the parking garages, then you have views of apartments. But I think that is a lot better. And it kind of like encloses Nationals Park in a weird way with those parking garages. Get rid of those like now. And unfortunately for the Nats, just having some insight into it, I don't really think you can put those garages downstairs. Like that was going to be my fix. And then I thought about it and was like, I don't think they can do that. I don't think the Nationals can do that because, again, the infrastructure downstairs, I mean, it is like a whole new city once you go below Nationals Park of just different baseball needs down there. There are food stands down there that bring the food back up into the concessions. There's just a lot happening downstairs. So I would say just put them down below, but I don't really think that is possible, unfortunately. But one thing that is possible is just blow them up. Just get rid of them. And maybe if you're really desperate, if you remember the old 7-Eleven down there, right by Nationals Park, it's right across that church. It's right there on South Capitol Street. If you're a real Nationals fan, I'm not going to say if you're a real Nationals fan, but if you know, you know. There used to be a 7-Eleven right there. That is an empty parking lot now. Buy that space up, put a 8-story parking garage in there, and call it a day. And if you don't want to do that, then do it somewhere else. But I think the garages that are right outside Nats Park, they are such an eyesore. And I know that Nationals Park is not owned by the Lerner family, so I'm not going to throw them under the bus for this. But it is owned by DC. I believe it's like DC Events that owns this property here. Blow the garages up. Because again, it's just an eyesore overall. That's number one. And number two, if you do blow those things up, what could you do with that space? You could create more bars, more restaurants, more overall profit for the city. And even then, maybe you just have that into like an outdoor bar area for Nationals games. And that's it. That would be awesome. Who would not want that at this point? Nationals Park, I've always said, I think it is nice, but it does need a little bit of a facelift. I think it needs a new scoreboard. Outside of like what the video, they totally redid the scoreboard before this past season and the lights as well, and it looks awesome. But like if you look at like the Nationals Park sign, it's sun bleached. I mean, it's bad. It's really bad, in fact. So those are just some ideas that I would have. But I'm interested to hear from you. I want to know what you guys want to see at Nationals Park. Because again, I think this is kind of like a slept-on story. And I think Nationals Park does need a bit of a facelift. We'll just have to see if they actually do it. And I know that might be saying a little too much by like, hey, like, is that really the biggest thing that we need right now? No, but I do think it makes the fan experience better for not just me, but also you, for the people who go to the games. So I think that'd be cool. Let me know what you think, and we can chop it up, and maybe you have a better idea that I can talk about, and we'll see. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen. catch us over on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Until then, I'll talk to you next week. Have a good one. Go Nats.